Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
In every hour of every day, the Adhan, the Muslim call to prayer, sounds somewhere in the world. Islam, meaning submission and, more specifically, submission to the will of God, is growing at twice the rate of the world's population. Sometime around the year 2050, Muslims will outnumber Christians as the world's largest religious faith. Although she is neither the Mother of God nor the Queen of Heaven, the Virgin Maryam has a major role in Islam. She is the model of piety and obedience to God's will. Although Islam is sometimes referred to as the newest of the Abrahamic faiths, Muslims do not see their religion in that way. To them, Islam is a return to the one true faith and the one true God. The religious founders of Judaism and Christianity had been given the same message, but their followers strayed from the correct path. In the words of the Quran, they were succeeded by a generation who neglected prayer and followed base desires. The seeds of Islam were planted in the deserts of Saudi Arabia in the year 570 of the Common Era. In that year, the Prophet Muhammad was born in what is now known as Mecca. 40 years later, Muhammad received the first revelations of the true faith from the one true God, Allah, delivered by the Archangel Gabriel. Within 1 century, Islam burst out of Saudi Arabia and dominated much of the world, from the Atlantic Ocean, the Iberian Al-Andalus, to the Indus River on the borders of China. Maryam and Issa, the Islamic names for Mary and Jesus, are honored in Islam. There are, however, vast differences between the Islamic view of Maryam and Issa and the Christian view of Mary and Jesus. Islam insists that it is blasphemous to even suggest that God fathered an earthly son. The heavens are well nigh rent, the earth split asunder, and the mountains made to fall down in ruins, that they should claim for the compassionate a child, teaches the Quran. In the Islamic view, Issa, Jesus, is a revered prophet, but a human being nevertheless. He is one of a long line of messengers proclaiming the one true religion of the one true God. The Prophet Muhammad was the last in this long line of prophecy. Because Isa is not the Son of God or God in any form, Maryam bint Imran is neither the Theotokos, the mother of God, nor the Queen of Heaven in Islamic thought. However, Maryam is highly honored in Islam and regarded as the most spiritually perfect woman of all time. Maryam is the only woman mentioned by name in all of the Quran. All other women are described either by their relationship, wife of Adam or mother of Moses, or by their status, Queen of Sheba. Maryam is also mentioned in the Quran many more times than Mary is mentioned in the Christian Bible. Islam also does not share the Christian doctrine of original sin. Muslims believe that we are all born into the world without sin, but it is our failure to follow the directions of the one true God that leads us into making choices for sin. Because the doctrine of original sin therefore does not apply to Maryam, there is no doctrine of the Immaculate Conception of Maryam in the Muslim faith. However, Islam does teach that Issa was the product of virgin birth. In the Islamic story, told in several different chapters of the Quran, Maryam has retired from the world when she is approached by the archangel Gabriel in the form of a handsome man. The story of Gabriel's message is similar to that of the Annunciation of Mary. Maryam is informed that she will give a miraculous birth. She points out that she has never had relations with a man. She is informed that all is within God's power. God need only to will it, and it will be done. Near the end of her pregnancy, Maryam goes into the desert, where she experiences the pains of childbirth. At that point, she is instructed to lean against a palm tree and shake it, causing fresh dates to fall at her feet, where a refreshing rivulet of water also appears. Issa is miraculously able to speak from birth and persuades the priests of the temple that he is indeed the product of God's will. Maryam is distinguished as the only woman to have a surah or chapter of the Quran named after her. In sum, Maryam is held to be a model of feminine piety and spiritual perfection in Islam.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
In the next episode, we will examine the fate of Constantinople and Eastern Orthodoxy under Muslim pressure, and the consequences that had for the very structure of the Christian Church and the ways in which the Virgin Mary was viewed and portrayed in Christianity.